All right, welcome to the lunchtime video. We're going to keep going on the example of MVPNs. So I will share my second screen. Okay, and pull up my lab. All right. So here's the example we were working on. So it's just kind of a lot of dry configuration, just adding, no. So actually, we were trying to get the configuration to commit because Juniper, for some reason, doesn't know how to do this configuration. Either it used to work with an older version that they're using for these examples, or they just got the examples out there without testing them on live equipment, or you know, something pretty. It's actually a little bit upsetting to me that this kind of thing could actually make it out the door, because you know, I would have wanted to use this in production. You know, this isn't the documentation that a lot of people are using to study for exams. This is the documentation people look at to deal with situations in the real world. So if that material is wrong, that's to me a bigger issue than if like a textbook or some learning material is wrong. Like the trade-off between the two is the learning material will break concepts down, be more clear. The reference material will kind of leave things unsaid and stuff, but hopefully in an ideal world, both are accurate. That's really not what's going on with Juniper, unfortunately. Okay, so let's see here. We've got, so we were down here. We had all the configuration applied to our PE1, and then we tried to commit it, but we were getting all kinds of issues. So let's take a look at what's actually on there right now. So we've got the PIM on there, which was the last step, I believe. Yeah, so I believe we have all the configuration on the PE1 that was necessary to include. Okay, and then we had to do a bunch of modifications in order to get it to show up, but hopefully the final verification steps will work. I assume we're going to be doing some pings, so as long as those pings work, I think that will be good enough. Unfortunately, I don't see any verification steps listed, which is kind of upsetting again. So they don't have any steps you can use to verify whether it works or not. And by the way, none of it works. So that's pretty upsetting to me. But let's just do our own verification steps. So we've got PE1. So let's move on to PE2, because it'll be close enough to PE1. We'll be able to tell what's missing on there. All right, so yep, we can see it's a lot more sparse. We don't even have the VPN configured yet. So let's go up here. So we're going to configure a L3 VPN, but the type of L3 VPN we'll be configuring is a VRF. Let's see if MPLS, so MPLS is configured as well, but unfortunately it's configured according to how they wanted it configured, which is not possible. Maybe there's some special thing with it being an ATM interface where it would work like that, but I doubt you can add any interface to, because what they're asking us to do is to add an interface to the VPN, yeah, here, that has already been added to a different routing instance, to the default routing instance, I think. I think that's what they're asking us to do. Yeah, no, that's of course what they're asking us to do, because they're saying add AT021 to protocols RSVP. Well, protocols RSVP is protocols is just the default protocol section. So they want me to then go and add it to a VPN-A VRF layer 3 VPN routing instance. Well, I can't do that. I already added it to the default. It's no longer available to be allocated to a routing instance because it already has been. So that's just not going to work. But, so yeah, FE010, FE010. So you can't have it both in a routing instance and in just the regular routing table. So let's do the same thing we did for PE1 and just follow it. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to make a lot of corrections. But we'll do that, make the corrections, then we'll finish the configuration, and we'll do our own verification where we try to ping end to end. And if it doesn't work, we'll troubleshoot that and try to get it to work somehow. Because as I've said before, that's really how the test is graded. Can you ping end to end? Can you have a route show up in a table with a certain metric? The ends are more important than the means on the test when it comes to grading. So, yep, I've got MPLS set up just fine. So it's time for the VRF instance. Oops. Okay, so they give everything out of order too, which is annoying, but okay, and they want G001. Okay, so I believe I've got everything. Oops, I still need the provider tunnel and the rendezvous point. Is it rendezvous or rendezvous? I think it's rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous. So I had the rendezvous. So let's see here. Set routing instances VPN-A protocols PIM RP static address. Oops, so it looks like I added configuration that was meant for a CE, but you can see I've got everything now that was meant for the PE. It looks like there's going to be a different kind of rendezvous point configuration on the PE. It's going to have one less line. So let's see if it commits. It will not commit. Yep, so we can see we can't add this because it's not in this instance, this default protocols instance. The instance it belongs to is show routing instances. So it belongs to this instance, VPN-A, you can see. So I can't have them in two instances. And by default, it checks this one first. Well, I think it only has the capability of checking this one first. It's not a matter of what's default, but anyways, you can see that interface is not in this instance. Well, that's because it's in this instance, so we've got to choose which instance it belongs to. So let's look at our topology. We know ones are to the right, zeros are to the left, so it does need to belong to the VPN instance because it's going to be sent from the customer. The VPN is kind of like the front door, so it's got to be sent through the front door. So the default instance is like the back door. So this cannot be in both the front door and the back door. So we've got to remove it from here. Oops. Borks quits. There we go. Okay, so now we'll get on to the next problem. So same thing as MPLS, that also applies to RSVP. Okay, but it didn't take that much to fix that, so we are good to go on the PEs now. So let's configure the CEs. And let me check the P router first. So I'll do a search at P, and then, oh, at P, and then a pound sign like that, yeah. Okay, so I don't see, I think the last command for that was up here. It's just assigning that to MPLS. So here we're not going to have any L3 VPN configuration because it's just going to be a transit router. It just seamlessly passes those special routes through. And in fact, it doesn't even pass them through as routes, it passes them through as labels. So let's do a show configuration, pipe display set, pipe no more. And yep, we can see everything looks good here. Let's do a show route. Yep, and now we can see we've got the MPLS table is even populated now. it looks like things are for the most part working, but we do have some more configuration to add to the CEs before we can try pinging end to end. So let's add that. We'll start with CE1. Oops, I didn't want it to jump me. Here we go. So we're back. Okay, so again, we're going to have different configuration. We've got mode sparse and version 2 on C2, but on C1, we've only got whatever the default happens to be. All right, so we're also going to need this command here. Oh, I've got to start the multicast sender device. I don't know how to do that. Let's finish up with CE2 before I try doing that. Okay, and I'll make sure that the OSPF configuration is applied to CE1 before moving on. Yep, so CE1 looks good to go. Time for CE2. Oh, oops, well, there's my stomach. Yeah, my stomach's been hurting. That's why I kind of did that without thinking about what I was doing. So if you've been watching this channel just to see that, you're welcome. The moment finally occurred. All right, so let's see here. So what do we got here? We've got, so I've got to add the configuration that's missing from C2. Yeah, so the PIM interface alls, mode sparse. Let's just start by seeing what's on here. If there's no OSPF, we'll need to go back a step. Oh, so we've got OSPF, we're all good there. So let's add set protocols, PIM, interface, all mode sparse, set protocols, PIM interface, all version 2. Okay, and we've got some more here. This is the final command. Set protocols PIM RP rendezvous point. Static address 10.10.47.101 version 2. Okay, so we're good to go. So we're good to try the next steps. So use show commands to verify the routing, VPN, and multicast operation. Verify that the receiver is receiving the multicast stream. The configuration and verification parts of this example have been completed. The following section is for your reference. So yeah, this is the extent of the verification that's provided. Along the way, they provided some commands to check, but they provided them really at the wrong times and the wrong levels. But okay, so verify that the receiver is receiving the multicast stream. All right, so let's try to do this. I'm not sure how to use multicast, but maybe there's like a special device. So it doesn't look like there's anything I have right now, but maybe there's an appliance I can get. So it would be like a guest, something from multicast. Yeah, I don't see anything for multicast on here. All right, let's do a Google search. GNS3 multicast. Okay, yeah, you can use like Ostinato or some sort of, I think maybe even Scapy you could do that with, but just a packet generator, you could send a multicast packet. But I would need a more robust machine here than just these VCPS machines. But let's try setting those up according to the topology diagram and see if they just ping together Unicast. Okay, so I've got to put the mask and then the gateway. So let's do a /24. Okay, that looks a lot better to me. So now let's set up the other side and see if an end-to-end ping will work. And if it doesn't, we'll do a trace route. Okay, so we've got a network unreachable. Yeah, so we've got all kinds of problems here. Let's try the trace route. Okay, so it goes to the CE2 here, and then it's dead in the water with a network unreachable message. So let's do a show route on the CE here, and let's get an understanding for why that network is unreachable. Okay, so there's just nothing in the table for that. So we're going to have the same thing here. We've got no route to host. So let's work backwards and see why the route isn't making it down here. So let's start on C1. And let's do a show route. Okay, so yep, that's the directly connected route. So let's back up one. Now it should be learning this as a VPN route. Yep, so it's learning it through OSPF just fine. It's a VPN. It's learning it in the VPN table, so no issues there. Let's check the PE. Or sorry, the P. Let's check the P. So there shouldn't be a route for it in the P router because it's just exchanging it as a label. Okay, so we're having issues with the lab where I can't open up the console to the P. There we go. So we've got no route, but that's going to be fine because we don't have a route, we have a label. So if we do show route MPLS, show route table MPLS.0, dang it, MPLS.0, what the heck? Okay, yeah. So show route table MPLS.0, we will have that route, but it's just going to be wrapped up in a label, so it's not going to show up as the route. But on PE2, I believe it will. So let's take a look there. Okay, so PE2, I think is where the problem is. We're not getting the route showing up. I wonder if I've got the wrong. Nope, so the correct interface is added to MPLS and RSVP and OSPF. So yeah, I have no clue at all. You know, where to even begin. I mean, obviously, you're going to want to begin with pings, with trace routes, with checking routing tables, that sort of thing. Let's check neighborship adjacencies. I think that's another good thing just in general to do. So we've got proper OSPF adjacency. Let's check the other adjacencies. So let's do show configuration protocols, pipe display sets. Okay, now let's do a show RSVP neighbor. So that looks good. We've got 2 RSVP neighbors, both are up. Let's do a show MPLS neighbor. Oh, show MPLS adjacency. Connection, something. LSP. Okay, so we've got 2 LSPs, ingress and egress, and they're both up. Okay, let's do a show BGP neighbor. Let's do a show BGP summary. So this must be the problem here. We've got a active neighborship. So let's T-shoot that. Yep, and the reason we've got an active neighborship is we've got no route to the host. But we are getting one here. So let's see what kind of route we get for this. Okay, so we get a route through OSPF for that, but for some reason we're not getting an OSPF route for that IP. I believe that IP belongs to PE1, so let's take a look at that. Yep, so it's the route on LO0.0. So let's take a look at the OSPF configuration. So you can see very clearly the problem is that we did not add the LO0.0 interface to the OSPF configuration, so it's not able to form that BGP neighborship because it doesn't have the route and cannot form a TCP connection. So let's add that. Okay, so now hopefully things look a lot better. Let's see if that, so it came up, and now you can see we've got all the tables, everything is looking a lot better. Let's take a look at the, well, I think this is all we need to look at. Let's see if the pings are, well, actually no, let's go to the CE2 now. And let's see if we've got a, well, no, let's go back to the PE2 and take a look at the route from CE1 and see if that looks any different. Because if we don't have the route there, it's not going to work. So we might as well take it one step at a time, not get ahead of ourselves and have to come right back. So we do have this now, and it's a BGP. It's learned as a BGP route, which is really good. Because if we look at the configuration, we can see we've got a policy here to export all BGP routes to OSPF. So show us OSPF neighbors. So it won't have any problem going out. Ooh, this could be a problem. Oh, so one thing to know about these commands on Juniper, which is really tough for a newbie to learn. And even someone advanced like myself will forget about this, or won't be immediately apparent. So we're looking at the show OSPF neighbors in the default routing instance. If we want to see the OSPF neighbors formed in this VPN, we've got to say that. So we've got to say instance VPN-A. There we go. And now we've got our neighbor looking good. Everything's perfect. Let's check the routes learned on CE2, and hopefully we've got a route for the first host. Perfect. So yep, now we've got an OSPF route because of that routing policy where we took things out of BGP and put it into OSPF in the VPN. So only to that connection. Of course, if we put it out to the other OSPF, it'd be sent right back and we get a loop. So we don't want to do that, but we didn't do that. We only applied it to the VPN, so it's only going out to the CE2. So I have a feeling that this ping will go through now, but we will check it. Oops. Yep, just doing some ARP. mapping the MAC address to the IP. So it usually loses a ping when it goes through that process. But yeah, we can see everything's really great. Yeah, this was a really good troubleshooting exercise. I'm feeling pretty good about the exam. I mean, all the specifics. I like, you know, if you tell me to troubleshoot something specific in the OSPF traffic engineering table, I'm going to be like, you know, if you want a metric 26 on a specific route, I'm going to be like, but if there's anything like this, where it's the wrong IP, not the proper, there's a interface missing from a configuration, I feel pretty confident with that. The other thing I kind of feel not so confident with is if they just straight up say, okay, configure an NVPN on this topology. I would be like, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I have help, so I can do help topic NVPN, and then I can do like maybe if there's examples or something. So we've got terminology. We've got standards, but standards is just, I can't look up the RFC, so I won't have internet access, so I can't look this up. You know, this is a dead end for me. But let's try overview. So you can configure it. So like, you know, this is what I'd be doing if they told me something like that. Just configure an MVPN. They told me to. So I'll probably end up using this help a lot, but I think there's no shame or harm in that. It's just a matter of time management. If you're spending the whole 6 hours just looking one thing up in the helps and you just can't get it, that's obviously going to be a problem. But the good news is if I neglected one study area or they have a surprise on the exam that wasn't in the curriculum, I can just use this and hopefully figure it out. That's more what I'm looking to develop as far as my skill set going into this exam, is the ability to kind of take an unknown crazy situation and respond to it. That's going to be more important than just memorizing config and that sort of thing. Because usually for the other kinds of exams, the multiple choice, I do a lot of memorization with Leffner flashcard methods, stuff like that. But for this, I haven't been doing any of that because it's just it's about being on the command line. So obviously, you can see most of what I've been doing to study for this is get on the command line. So I think flashcards, because I thought about that, like, oh, you know, this has been such an effective strategy for me in the past using flashcards. I wonder if there's a way to do it for the IE level. But it's just a whole different thing. And I think the most effective thing I can do is just hands-on, get comfortable on the CLI. That's going to be huge. Okay, and I think I'm doing a good job of that. I'm not sure how to test this multicast. I wish I could figure that out. Let's do a question mark and see if there's anything about that. So no, I don't see anything. What if I ping like 224.1.1.1? Yeah, that's not going to work because I don't have anything like that. So yeah, I'm not sure. All right, so let's take a look at this lab here. Yeah, because they do have a multicast sender here. I don't know what that means, but let's see if we can figure that out. Yeah, I don't see anything for a multicast sender. Let's do GNS3 multicast sender. Okay, so I'm not sure what there is to explore that with. Let's try looking at the routing table on CE2 and see if maybe there's something on there that's, oh yeah. So we do have an inet.1. It looks like it's a table just for multicast. But one thing that's popping out to me right now is we've got multicast in two different tables. We've got it in inet.1 and we've got it in inet.0 as well up here. So these are all multicast 224. That's the multicast range, and IPv4. So we've got PIM, OSPF. We've got another PIM. We've got IGMP. Right here we've got multicast. So let's see what happens if I ping this address. Okay, so it looks like it just times out. Let's try this other address here. Okay, so we're able to ping this one. I think what would be really interesting is to traceroute to it. Okay. Let's take a look at some Wireshark captures. Let's just pull up as many as possible to get a sense of this. And I think this will be the last thing I do today on this. And unfortunately, this might be the last thing I do on this topic as well. I really just don't want to spend too much time on any particular topic. And not only that, I think I was able to get some really good experience and practice from this in not having the configurations commit directly as they were from the lab, having to T-shoot the BGP neighborship being down, that sort of thing. I mean, I wish I could kind of go more into depth with like MVPN and the differences, but I think it's more like an analogy is like, you know, what's the difference between vanilla and chocolate ice cream? It's still ice cream. Like, if you're taking a test on how to make ice cream, I don't think it matters so much that you know how to make chocolate ice cream or vanilla or understand what the differences are. I think it's more important you understand how to make the ice cream, because if you fail at that, that's when you really got problems. just the kind of fine details, I don't think are going to be a huge problem for me, especially since I have that help apropos that I can reference. It's just the whole picture, understanding, because yeah, I mean, you saw very clearly when I was doing that, you know, I just walked away. I'm like, I have no idea in the world how to do this. So the longer I spend doing that, because you know, as I did now, I spent about a minute doing that, maybe 30 seconds. But if I spend 10 minutes doing that, if I spend a half an hour, if I spend an hour, I'm going to fail the exam. So I really need to develop those instincts where if I do that and I say, I have no clue what I need to do, I need to say, well, here's a bunch of things I can do that won't necessarily tell me what the issue is, but will give me a wider view into what's going on. It's kind of like if you want to and, you know, it's just kind of reconnaissance. It's looking through that sort of thing. I need to really get used to doing, and that really needs to be my first instinct, is to do reconnaissance. So you can see kind of my first instinct right now is to kind of get frustrated and upset. And that's really not going to carry over to the exam. My first instinct really needs to be to do reconnaissance, which is what I did after I got frustrated and upset. But I only spent about half a minute doing that, if that, you know, just a few seconds. It's just my concern with the stress of the test day and all that, I would be spending more time just frustrated and stumped. But spending an extra 30 seconds, 1 minute is not bad. I just got to remember what I need to do is take a deep breath, let out a deep breath, reconnaissance. That's going to be kind of my key to passing, I think, or just go. And then do show SPF neighbors, show BGP summary, anything I can do to get a picture of what might be going wrong. Show route, just there's endless things I can do. You know, worst comes to worst, I can just go router to router doing that. But I know enough by now that I can do a trace route, a ping, and really kind of do that in a more strategic and time-efficient manner. Okay, so let's take a look at these captures here. We've got a number of them open. So this is the capture between PC2 and, oh yeah, because this is the forwarding plane. It's the name of the forwarding plane. So yeah, this is CE to PC2. So we can see all we've got are OSPF messages, IGMP, PIM, which we're going to need. But these I could have made it a passive interface. We wouldn't have all this extra traffic. Just kind of clogging up the link. Not necessary. And I could get them out of there. But I think it's fine to leave them in there. One thing I will do is do apply as a filter, and I'll say not selected. Oops, actually, I'm going to need to do that down here. Yep, so apply as filter, not selected. So this is what the link would look like if I had done, if I had added this interface as a passive interface, as I would recommend. But unfortunately, it was not recommended by the exam. This is probably, I probably will be properly making things passive and stuff on test day though, because I won't be able to use Wireshark, unfortunately, but what I will be able to do is jump on C2 and then do a monitor traffic, no resolve, interface, GEs, 001. And now you'll see I can get the same sorts of things that I was getting before. So there's my OSPF hellos that I was seeing. I should see some IGMP and some PIM traffic as well. So here's my PIM hellos. So the final thing I should see is an IGMP, and those are pretty rare. I won't see those very often. We can see in the Wireshark capture, it looks like they're every, oh man, more than 100 seconds, every 200 seconds, something like that. So we'll see one eventually, but you can see just how essential this is going to be during the exam, because I can't use Wireshark, but I can still use the instincts and intuitions I have in Wireshark, just in a different manner, just by using this command instead. So I'm kind of waiting for IGMP to pop up. Once I see that, I think I'll move over to the next capture, because I just want to verify that I can, in fact, use this as a Wireshark replacement during the exam. I mean, that'd be really nice. Here we go. Here's my IGMP query. So yep, sure enough, it's going to be a suitable replacement. It looks like, in fact, in my lab here, it's more reliable because it's still going, where this one had that GNS bug where it's no longer capturing. All right, let's look at the next capture, and it's 57 right now. I've got a meeting at 1, so I'm going to need to log off really soon, if not exactly right now. Exactly right now is probably a better bet than later, because I've not only got a meeting, I've got to check in on something as well. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it right here, and then I think I'll devote one more video to this, just going through and looking at the Wireshark captures. But after that, tomorrow, it's going to be EVPN, if not starting that in the next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.